This episode brought to you by Serith Logistics, a leading cross-border transport company, and SRG Gold, customizing your gold and silver. Being the fourth and last episode in this series, we are set up on the shoreline of the Lake Kariba, and I bring you my thoughts of this epic adventure. This was going to be a 19-day adventure driving through the picturesque landscapes of Botswana, Namibia, Zambia and Zimbabwe, and then back into South Africa. "6,486 kilometers traveled total meant that this was going to be an adventure of a lifetime for both myself and Rhys. Okay, so in this little segment, we're going to do something a little bit different. The sun has just gone down and it was one of those magic sunsets that you have to be here to witness. And when on the Lake Kariba or the Zambezi River, sunsets just don't look the same. They just look out of this world. But I thought to get my brother-in-law to ask 5 questions that maybe you want to ask. So he's going to ask me 5 questions. I haven't heard them. And I think Rhys, from behind camera, thanks for your help. Take it away, buddy.
Good evening, everybody. So my first question to you, Ryan, would be, how have you found the whole trip as a whole with the two of us?
I think there's 2 questions. So how have I found the trip as a whole with the 2 of us? I think as all adventures go, and the trip itself has been absolutely amazing. I think always going to visit new places is something very dear to me. I'll kind of weigh it up as if I'm going to throw in a lot of money, then I really want to try and get to as many wild places as I possibly can where wild encounters are going to happen. And that's just my priority. So the trip has been amazing. I think traveling with you has been also a real help. As you probably now realize, overlanding is not easy. You're on the go, you're in the car 8-12 hours a day, and you need to catch up. And if you're doing that for a 19-day trip such as this one, you just seem to get a lot more tired a lot quicker. So it's not easy, and I think having you here has really been an awesome pleasure and a big help. So yeah, I think that answers your questions. Reflecting back at the beginning of this adventure, it dawns on me that even though I thought we were ready and truly prepared for this massive undertaking, the reality is that you can never be truly prepared for adventure, or the expectation of what it might be. This, as with all my trips, turned out to be an adventure of exploration, and nothing was what I had thought it would be. It was better in every way, and would ultimately awaken a proper passion I have for documenting far-off wild places only accessible by the drive and willingness to accept the unknown. It wasn't just about the journey through 5 Southern African countries. It was an adventure to explore new wild places that would ultimately create memories of a lifetime for both of us.
So we've been to a few national parks. What do you find the big differences between them? Which one's been your favorite so far?
So we've been to 3 national parks on this trip, actually 4 now, up to this point. We've been to the Lua Plains National Park, we've been to the Kafue National Park, we've been to the Lower Zambezi National Park, and now we're at the Matusadonna National Park. 3 in Zambia, and this is the first one here in Zimbabwe. The differences, I think the strange thing is that when I planned this trip out, I knew very little about the national parks. I knew kind of what to expect. I think Lua Plain in its own way has a charm of, it's a true purist overlanding trip. It is very hard going on the vehicle, and that thick sand just really adds another dimension to the trip, as well as the kind of wildlife and the vast open spaces with all that bird life and wildebeest and zebra. I think it makes it a very, very different national park. And Kafue, being the largest national park in Zambia, the oldest national park in Zambia, also very different. You know, the bush is very thick there, backed by the horrid tsetse fly, and lots of them, and a real lot of them. Very different. You know, camping right there on the Kafue River, I really never expected to be staying in a place like that. Truly fantastic, and such a great destination, and a place I will definitely be back. And then obviously the Lower Zambezi National Park, also totally different to what I expected. I thought it would be like Mana Pools, and it kind of is in a way, but it's also very different and very unique in its own way. And then Matusadonna, you know, also being right here on the Lake Kariba, and having, you know, these wild encounters where elephants move right through camp, also very different. But the one continuous thing in amongst all of these national parks that kind of maybe doesn't make them so different, but makes them very unique, and almost from a South African point of view maybe holds a lot more betterment for the future, is that 3 of those national parks are now managed by Africa Parks. And that's something I didn't know was happening, and that is happening, and it's great to see that it is happening, because I think these guys are on the ball. If you know anything about Africa Parks, these guys are really doing a good job. So I hope that answers that one. Overlanding in Zambia and Zimbabwe is all about embracing the hardships and challenges that come your way. From navigating rough terrains to enduring long hours on the road, every obstacle becomes an opportunity for adventure and exploration. But it's also not just about the difficulties. It is about the wild encounters that await you at every turn. Camping under the starlit African skies, surrounded by the sounds of nature in wild new places. It's simply put a real privilege. As with all overlanders that visit Africa, there is just something that can't be explained about the essence of the journey or the destinations you visit. You have to do it to understand the rawness of its undeniable charm and pureness, from the amazing people we met along the way to the spectacular encounters we experienced. Zambia and Zimbabwe are amazing places to self-drive and explore. The thrill of chasing majestic sunsets or hearing a lion's roar in the distance is an experience that will awaken your senses.
Another thing I wanted to ask, so we've stayed in some pretty wild places, some fishing lodges, parks, all the rest. The wildlife encounters, what's been the scariest and what's been the best?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the wildlife encounters and the wild encounters that we've had, what's been the best? Some people might say that that's pretty scary or could be the worst. I think the best wild encounter that I've never had up to this date is having an elephant literally stand a meter away from the rooftop tent at 2 o'clock in the morning and feed on the trees around us in the camp. That was pretty scary and hair-raising, and made me feel very insignificant and small. An animal that size, you don't really realize how big they are until they're a meter away from the vehicle. So that was probably the wildest encounter. And then today, this afternoon, having an elephant walk a meter away from the awning set up and the vehicle set up, it lit right past the camp and was very peaceful. But yeah, I think I have a healthy respect and fear for elephants, and to be that close has been truly, truly, truly amazing. As you navigate through the rugged terrains of Zambia and Zimbabwe, you'll soon realize that overlanding is not just a physical journey of the goal of destinations. It's a journey of discovery, a journey of the reality that this is living. These are places that one can self-drive and experience through proper planning, respect of being in the true wild, with dangerous encounters that could happen. Don't let complacency set in. Take caution and understanding in every part of your adventure, on or off-road, in camp or at the ablutions. Most importantly, step away from your vehicle just a little bit to soak up your experience and those moments.
Overlanding Africa will push you out of your comfort zone and teaches you spirit, resilience, adaptability, and the appreciation for the simpler joys of life.
So we've done 5 countries, including our home country of South Africa. So that's a lot of border crossings. How have you found the border crossings?
We've traveled 5 countries, including our home country, to get to this point. And how have I found the border crossings? It's quite simple for me. Number one, this is Africa. So time, people have a lot of time, and there are a lot of due diligence and processes that need to happen when entering a country. The hardest crossing for me is the Zambian crossing at Katima Malilo, across the way from Namibia in the Caprivi Strip. I'd say that's probably the hardest crossing, and that's also a very costly crossing, so I don't think that helps. As a SADC, I've always said it, I just think as a SADC person coming into the Southern African countries, I think it needs to be a little bit easier. And then I would say maybe the Kariba crossing into Zimbabwe, almost the same sort of processes as Zambia. And I think that those processes, I think the problem is that in these border posts, instead of having a line of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you literally go to each teller, which would make the most sense, you've got to go here, then you've got to go over there, which is 500 meters away, and then you've got to come back here, which is 200 meters, and then you got to get this fella, and they got to check your vehicle VIN number, and then you got to go back over here, and then at the end of the gate you got to then write down in a little book your engine number, your VIN number. You've got impalas and rutting in the background, noisy buggers, but you know what I mean. So you've got all, and I hate a double up process. So if I'm going to give my VIN number at the beginning, well then surely it should all be just digital and run right through to the end. Maybe that's an expectancy that's too high at this stage in 2023, but I kind of think that this whole process could be totally done digital, and hopefully we get there someday. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, to be quite honest with you, other than the processes, people have been at these border posts really helpful, really friendly, very communicative, and actually quite helpful on this trip. So I'm pretty stoked. I think if it was 10 years ago, maybe a big difference to where it is now. And we didn't no one tried to rip us off, no one tried to take advantage of us, and I think that really helps for travel. What was quite nice is that the realization that even though once you've gone through these border posts, you can now do trips like this, and I think that for me is absolutely massive, because I used to have this block in my brain that the border posts would sway me for wanting to come to visit places like this, and that's just not the case. I think both Zambia and Zimbabwe, like I have said in the past, are open for business. So I think that's a very, very good thing.
Two blokes living out of one car for 19 days, appreciating the moments that happen and the places that we get to visit. Whether setting up a ground tent or a rooftop tent, making a fire or being visited by an elephant in camp, making a plan to get CV joints repaired, and tackling every road condition thrown our way, we will still remember the tsetse fly for being an absolute fucking nuisance. But we have come a long way to realize that every adventure, no matter how planned or prepared you think you might be, will always remain unexpected, unknown, unique, and downright special. This is Adventure in Africa, the overlander's purest way to explore and discover remote, far-off wild places.
And then a bonus question for you, Ryan. As a full-time YouTuber,
Yeah.
how is life? And how can us as fans help you?
Wow, that's a big question, man. Right, so as a full-time YouTuber, how can you help me? Wow, that could probably take all night. But look, the reality is it's been tough. 3.5 years as a full-time YouTuber, and yeah, it's hard. I think the way people can help me is I've got super thanks down below videos. You can make a donation or a pledge to the show and the kind of content and the creative work that I do, taking you on these journeys. It's not easy. It is a lot of work. It is a massive cost, and I just simply cannot do it on my own. It is impossible. So to give you an example, say this trip, excluding the fuel sponsorship, you're looking at about 40,000 Rand. Now that's taken me 6 months to save up, and all the big trips that I do, that's kind of, I'm batting between 30 and 50,000 Rand. That's a lot of money. And, if I get 10 Rand from someone, that makes a massive difference. If I get enough of those 10 Rands, then I can do this more often and take you to places that maybe one day you want to go to. You could also just smash the like button. You could also share the video. You could even add a comment. These kinds of things help with the YouTube algorithm and allows YouTube to prioritize my episode to staying closer towards the top and as a suggested video to many more other people across the world. The biggest way you can support me is by subscribing to the channel. If you enjoy the content, if you enjoy what I'm trying to do, if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification icon, and stay in tune with the 4x4 Ventures team and what we do. We're on Instagram and on Facebook. Do the same things. Try and be communicative. So those are the big things. But the biggest help is patronage, donations to the channel, understanding what I'm doing, truly understanding what it is I'm trying to do, which is to inspire you, the person behind the camera, watching in on what I do and what I get up to. It is a $10 fee, and there will be a $5 patronage opening up soon. Head over to my Patreon page And don't do it because you feel you need to get something in return. Do it because you really believe in what it is I'm trying to do. I know you see the Ford behind me and you think, oh, well, he must be rolling in it. It's just not simply the case. I've been very fortunate and blessed to work with really great people and brands that believe in what I'm doing. And a massive thank you to all of them for coming on board and helping me get the Ford Ranger to where it is today. Without your help, it just wouldn't be possible. So a big thank you to all of you, and you know who you are, and a massive, massive thank you, because you make this possible for not only myself, but for everyone that believes and follows and watches the show. And I think if you see me on the road, like we have done with so many people already, let's have a chat. I'm only too keen to have a beer and have a listen and find out about your adventures and what you get up to. We have a really nicely growing community, and I think that as like-minded people and as overlanders, I think we need to support each other. So yeah, let's do that. But I always look forward to seeing you on an adventure, and I will always try and get back to you. And if I don't take it personally. There is just a lot of messages that come through on a day-to-day basis, and some messages I just can't seem to get to in time. I really appreciate all your support, and if that's it, Rhys, we'll wrap it up from here at Matusadonna, and I will have another cold one. Cheers. A big thank you to my Patreon legends. Thank you for your support. Sign up to my Patreon, link down below. In the next episode, bought this Ford Ranger 8 years ago. It's been a long time coming, and it's time for an update. One of the most amazing additions to the Ford Ranger thus far has been the Smart Cap tray and canopy. I do a walk around of the Ford Ranger setup. You push, you drop the table down, and what works for me out on an adventure and in the wild. It's waterproof, stain-proof, it's front runner ratchets that allow for quick access to the spade. Blimmin' brilliant. Camper 2X version 3.0. This one here, I have plates, knives, forks, all the cutlery you might need, and maybe some insights that could work for you on your next journey. Once you've found the areas that you'd like to go and visit, the next thing I like to do is go and research online. We'll see you then.